If you walked into a grocery store in 1955 with a dollar bill in your pocket, you were not just holding money, you were holding possibility, because that single dollar could buy a week's worth of bread, or 3 gallons of milk, or 20 candy bars. A dollar meant something. Today we are taking you back to see what things really cost in the 1950s. Not just the numbers on price tags, but what those numbers meant, what you could afford, what felt expensive, what felt like a bargain. Because understanding what things cost is not just about money, it is about understanding how people lived, how they budgeted, how they dreamed, how they built their lives one purchase at a time. Let's start with the grocery store, the place where money mattered most, where every housewife knew exactly how far a dollar could stretch. In 1955, bread cost 14 cents a loaf, not fancy artisan bread, just regular white bread, the kind that came in a wax paper wrapper and made perfect sandwiches for school lunches. Milk was 82 cents per gallon, delivered to your door in glass bottles if you had a milkman, cold and fresh and essential to every household. A dozen eggs cost 60 cents, a pound of bacon was 63 cents, ground beef was 30 cents per pound, butter was 70 cents, sugar, 5 pounds of it, was 49 cents, coffee was 79 cents for a whole pound, the kind you percolated on the stove every morning. You could walk into a diner and get a hamburger for 30 cents. With fries and a Coke, the whole meal might cost you 60 or 70 cents, and you would leave full, satisfied, not feeling like you had been overcharged. A gallon of gasoline cost 18 cents. 18 cents. You could fill up your tank for $3, drive all week, take the family for a Sunday drive, and still have change left over. A movie ticket cost 48 cents. For adults, kids got in for a quarter, and that ticket bought you more than just the movie. You got a cartoon, a newsreel, maybe a cereal, 2 or 3 hours of entertainment for less than 50 cents. A newspaper was a nickel. 5 cents got you the news, the sports, the comics, and the classifieds. Now let's talk about the big purchases, the ones that required saving, planning, real financial commitment. A brand new car cost about $1,500. A Forge, a Chevrolet, nothing fancy, just a good reliable car that would last for years if you took care of it. And people did take care of them, because $1,500 was a lot of money. It was half a year's salary for many families. A new house, a modest 3-bedroom home in the suburbs, cost around $7,000, sometimes less, sometimes a bit more, depending on where you lived, but generally affordable for a working family. The down payment was usually 20%, so about $1,400, and your monthly mortgage payment would be around $50 or $60. Rent was even more affordable. The average rent for an apartment was $42 per month, $42 for the whole month. Utilities might add another $5 or $10. A television set, which was still relatively new technology in the early 50s, cost between $200 and $300. Expensive, but not impossible. Many families saved up for one, made payments because television was the future, and everyone wanted to be part of it. A new refrigerator cost about $250. A washing machine about $150. These were major appliances, investments, things you bought once and expected to last for 10 or 15 years. Furniture was affordable too. A sofa might cost $60. A dining room table and chairs, $100. Clothing was inexpensive by today's standards. A woman could buy a nice dress for $5 to $15. A good dress, something she could wear to church or to a party. Not disposable fashion. Quality clothing meant to last. A man's suit cost between $35 and $50. A pair of shoes, $5 to $10. Blue jeans, the kind teenagers wore, cost about $3.50. Even a winter coat, something heavy and warm, could be had for $20 or $30. And if you could sew, if you had learned in home economics class or from your mother, you could make your own clothes for even less. Fabric was cheap. Patterns were available. Many women made most of their family's clothing. Now, here is the part that matters most. Context. Because yes, things were cheaper, but people also earned less, much less. The average American worker in 1955 earned about $3,300 per year. That is about $63 per week, or roughly $1.50 per hour for a 40-hour work week. So let's do the math. Let's see what things really cost in terms of hours worked. That 14-cent loaf of bread cost about 6 minutes of work. The 82-cent gallon of milk cost about half an hour. The $1,500 car cost about 1,000 hours of work, about 6 months of full-time labor. The $7,000 house cost about 4,700 hours, roughly 2.5 years of work. Compare that to today. In 2025, the average worker earns about $30 per hour. A loaf of bread costs about $3. That is 6 minutes of work, the same as 1955, but a gallon of milk costs about $4.50. That is 9 minutes of work, a bit more than before but not dramatically different. A gallon of gas costs about $3.50, 7 minutes of work, compared to 6 minutes in 1955. Again, fairly similar, but here is where it changes. A new car today costs about $48,000. At $30 per hour, that is 1,600 hours of work, about 10 months, more than the 6 months it took in 1955. And a house. The median home price today is about $420,000. That is 14,000 hours of work, 7 years of full-time labor. So what does this tell us? That some things have stayed remarkably consistent. Food, in terms of labor hours, costs about the same. Maybe a bit more for some items, a bit less for others, but roughly equivalent. Other things, like cars, have gotten slightly more expensive in real terms. But cars today are also better, safer, more reliable, more efficient. You are getting more for your money even if the price is higher. But housing is where the real change happened, where affordability broke down, where the gap between then and now becomes a chasm. In the 1950s, a working-class family could afford to buy a home, could build equity, could achieve the American dream on a single income. That is much harder today. For many, impossible. There are other differences too. Things that existed in 1955 that we do not pay for anymore, and things we pay for now that did not exist then. In 1955, there were no cell phone bills, no internet bills, no streaming services, no cable television. Entertainment was cheaper because there were fewer options. On the other hand, healthcare was cheaper then, much cheaper. A doctor's visit might cost $3. A hospital stay, $20 per day. Health insurance was not necessary for most people because medical care was affordable out of pocket. College was cheaper too. A year at a public university might cost $300 or $400, including room and board. You could work a summer job and pay for school. Debt was not assumed. It was avoided. Do you remember what things cost when you were young? What could you buy with your first paycheck? What felt expensive? What felt like a steal? Share your memories in the comments below. We want to hear your stories. What a dollar or a dime or a penny meant to you. Looking at these numbers, these comparisons, it is easy to feel nostalgic, to think everything was better when bread cost 14 cents and houses cost $7,000. But the full picture is more complex. Yes, some things were more affordable, especially housing, especially education, but other things were harder. Medical care was cheap but less advanced. You survived some things that would kill you today, and some things that are routine today were death sentences then. Technology has given us things that no amount of money could buy in 1955. Instant communication across the globe, access to all human knowledge in our pockets, medical treatments that save lives, convenience that previous generations could not imagine. But we have also lost things. The security of affordable housing, the ability to support a family on a single income, the expectation that your children would have it better than you did. That promise feels broken for many people today. So what can we learn from looking back at 1950s prices? Maybe that affordability is not just about dollars and cents. It is about proportion, about whether working people can afford the essentials, can build a life, can feel secure. The 1950s were not perfect. Far from it. There were serious problems, inequality, discrimination, limited opportunities for many people. We do not want to go back to that, but perhaps we can learn something from what worked, from an economy where a single income could support a family, where housing was accessible, where education did not require decades of debt, because the numbers tell a story, not just of prices, but of priorities, of what we valued then and what we value now, of what we have gained and what we have lost. And maybe, just maybe, understanding that story can help us imagine a future where the good parts of yesterday meet the possibilities of tomorrow. If this journey through 1950s prices made you think, made you remember, or made you want to share with someone who lived through it, Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Yesterday Lives. We are preserving not just the memories, but the reality of how life has changed. The numbers, the stories, the truth of what it meant to live in a different time. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss our next comparison, because we are just getting started. Next time we will look at what it cost to buy a house, to raise a family, to go to college, all the big expenses that shaped lives then and now. Thank you for watching. And remember, yesterday never truly disappeared. It just changed its price tag.